welcome back to another episode of E&Ftv. Today, we are back with our mini-series for the Edwards and Finn Hot Wings Challenge. As you can see, we have my good friend Jamie Blackmore, who was very kindly nominated by Sally Richard. So thanks very much, Sally, and I'm sure Jamie will be dropping you a message shortly after this, depending on how it goes. So Jamie, welcome, mate. I know you've been one of the people that have wanted to do this for quite some time. So how do you feel now you're finally here?
Wanted? I don't know if that's the right expression. Yeah, no, it's we've spoken about this before. There's there's only a certain number of ways you can do a standard interview and ask someone how things are going. So it's nice to do something a little different. I'm not sure super hot sauces is the way to go to make it more interesting, but hey, we'll give it a try. But no, it's all good. It's good. I'm sure it'll be good fun.
No, good stuff. Now, everybody that watches these already knows was sort of the sort of in and outs of it all, but just for general housekeeping and safety. So we have our waters. Yeah. Oh, Jamie's got plenty of milk. So we've got our milk. We've got our paper towel or tissues or whatever. For God's sake, do not touch your eyes, because literally just before I came on, I've just touched this eye with one of these sauces and my eye's already going red. And I've nearly done this every single time I've done it. So don't touch your eyes. The way it's going to work, we've got 7 questions with 7 sauces. We're going to go from the, I'd say, least hot sauce all the way up to the most. And we'll obviously describe which ones we're going for. I think without further ado, we'll crack straight on, shall we? I suppose first off, though, before we get into it, how are things with you, mate? Because I know, you've been incredibly busy at Revenage. How are things going? Because obviously you and I knew each other before Revenage, but obviously you started it not too long ago now. So how are things going?
Yeah, it's been good. It's been busy. Time has flown, really. I mean, it was February last year that I really launched what I was doing. I started, talking about it more. And yeah, it's been a busy 12, 18 months. Had some really good clients, some very diverse clients as well. So yeah, it's been a really good period. Probably busier than I expected it to be. I thought the first year would be a little quiet. So that was great. That exceeded expectations. And yeah, it's been genuinely very enjoyable, actually. I'm really, there's always that kind of hesitation. You make that decision to do your own thing, and you never really know if it's going to work. So at the moment, as it stands, I'm very glad that I chose to do what I'm doing. And it's been a really positive period of time.
Yeah, I was going to say, with your reputation in the market already, very well established. You're already a name that people knew of. So I think that sort of trust in your ability and expertise was already there. And I mean, I know how busy you've been, and the clients you've been working with, they are very well known and very well established brands. So, fair play to you, mate. And of course, long may it continue. So no, without further ado, let's get into it. No, enough of the niceties, enough of the pleasantries. So, first wing, we have sriracha, everybody.
How do we know that yours are real and that you haven't just them for ketchup?
Well, trust me, my reactions, I don't think you could fake them. The tears, the sweat, the pure pain that I go through when doing this, because I know what's to come. I felt this time and time again. So we're starting with sriracha. It's not too bad.
How much are you putting on? How much? Oh, okay, you're ahead of me. Hold on.
I put a good glug. Let's say that.
No, that's fine. That's nice.
Exactly. Now,
it's got a bit of a kick, but that's pretty mild.
Yeah, right. It's got a bit of a kick, but it's all right. It sort of eases you into what's to come. Okay, so first question. What is the one thing you would have done differently when starting your business?
Not volunteer to do things like this. What would I have done differently? I probably did what everyone does when they start their own venture in any sector. I come up with what I'm going to offer in terms of services, and you do the website and you do the collateral to go with it.
Yeah,
and that's great, because you have to do that. People have to know what it is you do, but everyone in my area, as you know, we all offer relatively similar services. Outsourcing, interim revenue management, all of those things.
Sure.
And again, that's kind of the fundamentals of what we do, and that's good. But I probably would have spent more time trying to understand what it is I was going to do differently. And it's only from speaking to some brand experts recently, they've been asking me, what do you do differently? How do you differentiate yourself? How is your business different? What's the philosophy that's different to other consultants? So I think that's definitely something I would have put a little bit more time into thinking about at the beginning. And it's I see the importance of it now, because what you said before is great. There are people that know me, and there are people that know the other consultants that are out there.
Yeah,
that's incredibly important.
Yeah,
but there's always that there's always that bigger market of people that don't know you, and for them, I think it is very hard to differentiate between either me or one of those other people that are operating in this space as well, because when you're just offering services that sound very similar, and we know what the purpose is, it's to hopefully drive commercial performance, etc. So I would have definitely spent more time just thinking about what truly differentiates how I approach things to some of the other people that are doing similar consultancies.
I suppose part of that is maybe brand identity, but what your business is actually looking to achieve. As again, I think like a lot of people, when they do go into starting their own businesses, I had the same thing. It was a case of, yes, I work in recruitment, but how do we differentiate ourselves from other recruiters? And that's probably one of the hardest questions, because at the end of the day, your business will be doing something very similar to so many other businesses, but without having that identity and without having that differentiation from others, it can be quite difficult to make a meaningful impact on an industry and to make yourself well known, to be that go-to entity out there, I suppose.
Well, have you kind of reconciled that with yourself, what it is that you do differently? Sorry, I know you're meant to ask the questions, but
no, it's a good one. Yes, I believe that we are becoming the go-to name for revenue management recruitment. But I think that was due to not just the recruitment side. It was the other stuff that we provide clients. So obviously our biannual meetings throughout the year, which basically bring commercial leaders together to deal with challenges, but as a collective rather than individually. And then obviously the foundation that we created, the universities we work with. What we basically did was show the industry that we weren't an external consultant, helping or from the exterior, providing a service. We wanted to become part of the industry, which I think we've achieved. And that was the biggest differentiation between us and a lot of others, is that they are external agencies providing a service, whereas we're now part of the industry driving positive change. That's always been my message about driving that positive change. So I think we've achieved that. But I think as time goes on, you also realize that you want to change things in certain ways throughout. Each year you have a different goal, or each year your brand identity might change slightly with yourself, and your values and your goals will change ultimately.
I think that's a good point. I think for me, because I didn't really kind of, I guess, answer the question of how I did see the brand identity, or however you want to term it. I think for me it was to not in some grandiose way, but to you do the work for the clients you have, which is great, but actually to try and be impactful it is that I do. And we've spoken about this a lot,
training for revenue management, how revenue management is viewed, the you know, career pathways, the evolution, all of those things. And I think to do the work you're doing, but also to try and have some kind of impact in the, you know, just how revenue management is perceived and how it's progressing. I think, you know, that was and remains quite an important part of it for me.
Okay, guys. So the next wing we're going to be looking at. So we got Cayenne. Cayenne is the next one up, Jamie. So wing number 2. It's supposed to be a little bit spicier than the sriracha, but I guess we'll see.
Are we doing the test of flags as well? What's this? French, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Oh,
that was good. Oh, it's got a bit of a kick, but
yeah, that one kicks. Oh god. Well,
I'm good with that.
Yeah, I'm not good with that one. So I'm happy that you're going to be answering these questions. Okay, so that actually leads me quite nicely onto the next question. So what do you believe are the current challenges facing revenue management at the moment, from your perspective, from maybe the things that you're seeing, or from maybe the forums that you've been speaking in and sort of interacting with?
It's got a delayed kick. That's only number 2. That's not good. I think, well, I mean, to start with, it's still a relatively new area, isn't it? And, you know, I think everyone says that. I'm not saying anything unique. Everyone will say that revenue management has only been around for a brief period of time, which, you know, it's fine. It's a newer speciality than, you know, some of the other commercial roles in hotels. But, you know, I think there are some challenges because it's still quite new. I think we shared a post on this the other day that there's a little bit of a lack of role clarity now very often in that there's not really a full understanding of what's needed from that role. And a lot of people are going into roles with perhaps not full understanding of what's going to be required from them. And I think that's just how the role has developed, and as the role has taken on greater amount of responsibility, in some, you know, you're taking on some roles where the expectation is very high. And by that I mean, you know, you can have a director of revenue who's expected to be, you know, a very strong analyst, a very strong commercial person, an excellent communicator, good with systems, have a good understanding of e-commerce and distribution. And, you know, that is a lot for one person. It's quite a broad skill set. And I don't think we're always making that very clear when people are stepping into roles, just how big that expectation is, or perhaps we're not looking from a staffing perspective in terms of how we should actually be structuring the revenue team. You know, should we be, and again, I think, you know, we saw someone comment on this the other day, potentially you need to be looking at splitting out the revenue role. You know, do you need a director of revenue, a revenue analyst, a systems person? You know, we definitely have e-commerce separate, which is good, but I think, you know, that's very important for all businesses now when they're recruiting for a revenue person to really understand just how much is needed from that role, and whether or not, you know, it's actually feasible for one person to be doing that. So I think that lack of role clarity is a challenge. I think we also still have a bit of an issue with the career pathway, and I think it's a wonderful speciality to get into. You know, whether you go into a single site and then cluster and then perhaps a more senior director role, but where do you go after that? It's not an easy transition from director of revenue to head of commercial. I think it should be, but I don't think, I mean, you're better placed to comment on this than I am, but I don't think we're seeing many directors of revenue that are going into commercial leadership roles. It's more of a, I think it's still more of a, you know, the sales people that are in sales roles, senior sales roles that are going into those commercial roles. And that's, I think that's a bit of a challenge, because we don't want to get to a point in the industry where we have a lot of very good directors of revenue that just then don't have anywhere else to go in their career, because then we're going to start losing some exceptional people.
Yeah, I think you're right. That commercial director role, although I've always seen it, and probably rightly so, I've always seen it as quite a clear pathway for a director of revenue or a multi-property director of revenue and so on to step into that role, or head of revenue and whatever else you want to call it. But you're right. I've seen more and more that they are coming from that sales background. I have seen people that have gone into it from sort of that marketing and e-commerce side as well. And that actually makes quite a bit of sense. But with regards to the commercial directors that have come from revenue, the circle that you are obviously part of, that the community, if you like, that we've built, the commercial directors that we've seen in that, they've obviously come from revenue, but I think that's becoming few and far between, which I do believe is a strong point to bring up. That career progression from director of revenue upwards, it's very difficult. Those roles are so few and far between out there. And you're right. Are we going to get to a point where we've got a huge pool of talent at that top end? And then what do we do with them? Because ultimately, they're not just going to sit still. And there's only so many sideways moves you can really do into, similar brands, and you're just going to take an extra 10 grand or whatever. It's an interesting point, mate, to be honest with you. And it might be something that we start seeing the results of. Yeah.
Sorry, I think another point to consider, and again, it's something we've spoken about a lot.
Yeah.
I think there needs to be some investment. I mean, there needs to be investment in all, investment and training into all functions.
Yeah.
But I think within revenue management, we've long spoken about this challenge with very, very good revenue professionals that perhaps aren't the best communicators, and they don't present very well. And I think that is potentially the challenge with getting them, with them not getting into that slightly higher level. That's almost a bit of a ceiling that's being created, because we're not perhaps investing where we should in these people to make sure that they do have the full complement of skills to be able to progress onwards in their career.
Yeah, and I'd argue that on mid-level roles as well. The expectation of a cluster revenue manager, let alone, director of revenue and so on, it's becoming wider and wider. The responsibilities, the duties, the expertise that people need from these people now are far exceeding what they used to. And I think that investment in development skills from that mid-level onwards is an important one as well. So I think as the industry still is getting its head around the importance and I think I said this the other day, just the standing in which the revenue management sits within an organization, the more that is truly understood, the more value they will put on it. But at the moment, they still don't quite, well, in my opinion, and this might be quite controversial, but I still don't think they see the return on investment when employing a really good quality revenue professional.
No, I think 100%. And I think you're right to say that it's not uniform. I think it's, it does differ from business to business, but I do think there's a lack of understanding of how impactful the role is, and a lack of trust as well. And I've had a couple of conversations this week with very senior directors of revenue who are still having those challenges with being questioned on quite basic elements of their job. And strategy should be collaborative, but there are also there's a point where you have to trust what these people are doing. And I do, from my own experience and from people I know in the industry, I do think the revenue role is still questioned, perhaps more than some of the other specialist roles. And that in itself, I think, is a problem. Maybe it comes down to communication and the fact that some revenue people just aren't adept enough at communicating strategy. But I agree with you. I think there is still a little bit of a lack of trust in what the revenue person does, and and yeah, you're absolutely right. A lack of return on investment. And that, I think for me, the big frustration with that is it's probably one role where you can truly quantify an ROI.
That's what's so crazy about it, is if you were going to pick a role where you could actually track the return on investment, it's this one. That's what is beyond me. But I could go on and on about that one. But the next wing, we are on Bird's Eye. Now, the Bird's Eye one, it sort of gets a bit prickly from here, to be quite honest with you. This one's not that nice.
Right.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's that hooey, that creature.
How much are you putting on? Are you? I mean,
I'm putting a good glug on. Let's put it like that. Oh God. Yeah. Eyes are starting to water.
No, I don't find it as bad as the last one.
No?
No.
So what, you find cayenne hotter?
I did. Yeah, no, I quite like that. I'm going to go for some more of that.
Well, the one that I like is actually the next one up, which is habanero. That's the only one that is actually, I feel, is any good. The sriracha's all right as well. Okay. Let's go back to the business now. So what's the most challenging moment in starting your business? When have you felt has been the most challenging sort of time or moment?
I think there's one. I think there's one moment that that comes to mind, and I was on a call with a client. Yeah, that one's got a delayed kick as well. I think you feel it instantly. I feel it like a minute later.
You're sitting there saying, "Oh, it's not that bad." I'm literally here trying to stay calm. Oh God! Right, I'm glad you said that. Oh God!
Mouth burning now.
Whew.
I was on a call with a prospective client last year, and it was a good call, but it was you have some calls that are a little informal, you have some calls that are very they're just strictly business, and that's fine. There's a place for both. And this was a very kind of business orientated call.
Okay.
Client was going through their requirements and being very detailed in terms of what they needed potentially from a consultant. Okay. And my monitor caught fire.
What?
Yeah. So I have a laptop and a monitor, and it made a little bang, and smoke started coming out. It was absolutely true. And that was a little bit scary, obviously. So I was kind of sat there, and I was obviously a little shocked because the person she was like, are you okay? And there's literally, I'm not exaggerating, there's literally smoke coming out the back of this monitor. And but then she just said, well, can we carry on?
I've never heard this story before. This is brilliant.
Yeah, it was
that is surreal.
I didn't know where to go with that because I was kind of sat there, and it was before I moved. It was when I was still living in my last place.
Right.
So I've got a separate office room here, but we just kind of doubled up there with office and bedroom. So yeah, I literally sat in what is our bedroom, and there's kind of smoke coming out the back of the laptop. And literally, I have to kid you not, this person, she was just like very seriously, well, yes, but can we continue with our discussion? Yeah.
Did you get the contract?
I didn't. I absolutely didn't.
Oh no!
It was. It would have been quite an interesting one because it was an overseas one as well. But no, it didn't. It didn't come to fruition.
You're kidding.
And I had to buy a new monitor, so it was a double negative.
Yeah, I was going to say. But the only thing I can imagine, right, Was it actually via video as well or not, or was it just sort
Yeah,
of?
it was. Yeah, it
I was
was.
going to say just you every so often, just trying to fan the flames or whatever, or you just suddenly see a couple of flames kind of coming into the camera shot.
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, it was just smoke coming out, so it could have been worse. But yeah, no, I mean that's probably the most single challenging moment. Overall challenging. Do you know, touch wood? There hasn't really been anything that's been massively challenging. There's a little there's issues along the way.
Yeah.
But there's been nothing substantial over the last 18 months, which I'm very grateful for. But I think maybe I went into this a little bit more open-eyed than some people do. So I didn't, I didn't think everything was going to be perfect, a smooth sailing, and
no.
So yeah, I think I'm very glad that I got a lot of advice when I started, and that put me in a good position, really, in terms of having a reality check of what's going to happen. So yeah.
No, fair play. And again, the last 18 months, 2 years that we've both had, you'd think that we would have hit a lot more difficult times than I guess we had, because you and I caught up pretty much weekly, if not every other week. So no, it's been, again, I mean, I've got to say, like, to see where the business was when you started to where it is now, it's such a strong brand. And again, the clients you're working with, just it's a testament to your just what you do and what you bring to the table. And that's, for complete transparency, that's why you're my first point of call whenever I have a client asking for an interim or anything. You're the first person I call, mate, every single time. Then I don't mind who hears it on this. Right, next one.
Can you see my hair, by the way?
Do you know what's funny? I can see your hair when you do that, but otherwise it just sort of looks like you've got a shaped head with the dark background. But habanero. So number 4. This one I like. This one is a good one, to be quite honest with you. It tastes good. It's hot, but it actually has a good taste to it.
So what's this? This is Mexico.
Mm-hmm. See, that for me, is a winner.
I don't have enough on this one. You're going to be brave on this.
I'm licking my lips. Licking my fingers. That's a good one. I really like habanero. Whoa, maybe
Sure.
It's hot. Oh man. How you finding it? Yeah, that was good, right?
That is
I've got a little puddle of sauce on my board here because I just sort of swept all that up.
Right.
Can
you see that? Just, I am genuinely doing this. I'm not, I haven't replaced it with ketchup.
With some garlic and herb sauce. Right.
That's good.
So
I like that.
Yeah, I really like that one. But for anybody that does like hot sauce, habanero is always a winner. So switching from sort of the more challenging side of things now, what about sort of a high moment? Biggest highlight since starting the business for you?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it's a slightly cliched answer, and everyone will say people, but it's genuinely very true. I've met and worked with some really great people over the last 18 months, and I think there's many reasons for wanting to do my own thing, but one of the reasons was to have that diversity of work. Perhaps what I didn't factor in is that along the way you're going to meet a lot of different people.
Sure.
And I have, and whether it be other consultants or clients I've worked with, it's been really very enjoyable, and I've made some great contacts over the last 18 months. And yeah, it has been a truly very enjoyable part of it. as I just mentioned, the diversity of the work was something that was, a determining factor when I started, and that's been another big part of this, because I've, you know what my background is and what hotel groups I worked with, and I think just in the last 6 months alone, I've been involved with 3 or 4 different clients that are completely different to what I've done previously. And it's great that, what we do is very transferable in revenue management and commercial, and that's a hugely advantageous thing. But yeah, the diversity of the work has been very interesting, and again very enjoyable. And I think that the final point, and one would hope it's the nature of having your own consultancy, that you're having an impact. And I think we have to be honest, sometimes that's not always the case when we're in jobs, because there are certain lull periods where your workload isn't as intensive, and you're almost seeing the results of the strategy you've implemented. You can't reinvent things on a daily basis. So I think that's obviously a little different when you're on a working with clients, because you're there for a finite period of time. You're there to do something, more often than not, very specific. And there's an end goal to be achieved. So it's very definable in terms of why I've been brought in, what I've done, and what the end result is. So that's been a hugely rewarding part of this.
That's awesome. Again, it's one of those things where I obviously knew you before Revenage, and I know the impact that you have on the businesses that you've worked with, because of course, again, sort of our relationship has been one where we've been able to work together in some cases, and just the sheer impact and the results that you've been able to drive has been brilliant. And for you to have that diversity of business, again, it keeps you energized, it keeps you interested. It's not becoming, same old, I suppose, which we all need, I suppose, right. Scotch bonnet. This is where it gets horrible, if I'm totally honest with you. That everyone that we've got to this point with, let me just lather this one up again. And yeah, just for complete transparency, guys, you can see how covered and shiny and lovely that one is. I always describe this one as prickly.
Prickly?
Yeah, like it feels like stinging nettles on your tongue.
What's the heat? It's like the Scoville scale.
Oh, mate, I don't know exactly what this one is. I know that this one's over 1 million. And then this guy down here is like a couple of thousand. So like the difference between that and that is a joke. So this one is where it really gets a bit serious. Oh. Oh.
Mate, your face has gone red.
I'm not licking my fingers this time. I'm not. Oh. Right. I'm going to say this question before I completely lose the use of my mouth. Okay. How important is social media for creating awareness and generating inquiries? I guess a big part of this is sort of engagement and so on, but yeah, I'm not repeating it. How important is social media?
Move on.
I'm going to the milk.
Sorry, what was the question? Social media.
Yeah, so how important is social media to get inquiries?
Yeah, that one's got a kick, hasn't it? That one's there.
Yeah, I'm full on crying. Why did I come up with this? Yeah, go ahead.
Social media. Yeah, no, it is important. But I think it has to be part of an overall marketing it's hard to talk. Oh, this is tough.
Yeah.
It has to be part of an overall marketing strategy. I think, whether you're a small independent or whether you're a larger scale business.
Yeah.
I think it's not the be all and end all. You can't rely on it solely to create and generate inquiries and leads. But it is a very useful and effective way of maintaining awareness and creating awareness to a certain extent, whether it be on LinkedIn, Instagram, so on and such forth.
Yeah.
I think I personally I've not been posting a lot over the last few months, and part of the reason for that, when I started, again, as you have to, I was posting a lot of content, whether it be service related or just my opinions on various things.
Yeah.
And some of it gets good engagement, some of it doesn't get good engagement. But similar to what I was saying before, I kind of got to a point where I realized there wasn't really a strong enough brand identity behind what I was posting, and it becomes a little generic. There's only a certain amount of time or a certain number of times you can comment on what the future of revenue management is, or what the current challenges are, and it's important, and people have some very very good views and very insightful views, but it's difficult sometimes to maintain freshness, I think. So I stopped for a little while, and I'm currently having a new website built. So I give a little shout to the guys at RJH Digital. Clearly, I know
RJH Digital.
There you go. Who are working on they did some work on my first website, which was really just a bit of a placeholder, and they're currently devising a new website for me, which is going to be very different. And the point of that is that once that's live, then I'm going to be a little bit more curated in terms of what kind of content I put out. I think it's something you do very well, because it's you keep to a, obviously it's a little different, but you have quite a there's quite a lot of consistency with what you do, and there's quite consistent branding in what you do, whether it be for for this type challenge, or for your job listings. It's always very consistent. It's very consistent wording, look, feel, etc. So that's kind of that's where I am with it. In terms of its importance, as I said, it is important, but as long as it's considered a part of and not the be all and end all. I think I've spoken to a lot of people about this recently. I think as social media naturally will do, LinkedIn in particular is evolving a little bit in terms of the type of content and the type of content that gets the most engagement. So I think it's challenging sometimes, because you see people that are just consistently putting out the same type of content, and they're not really getting any engagement. They're not really getting anything from it, but they're still kind of producing it on a almost on a day-by-day basis. So that I think is a little bit wasteful in a way, because a lot of effort is being put into something potentially that just no one is seeing. So I think it especially for our industry, it is important. But repeating myself, but again, as long as it's only viewed as a part of your overall marketing strategy, and as long as you understand what exactly you're posting, and I think be very considered as well in what you're posting, not just content for the sake of content. And we know the reason why it happens, but also you see this yourself. There's you get people that just intentionally try and be controversial, and I'm speaking specifically hospitality related, just because it will it'll get good engagement, it'll get a lot of comments, and that's fine, but it's also it's a little frustrating in a way, because it's very contrived, and it doesn't really help people, I think. So so I think that's my view on it.
No, I think again, from my perspective, the whole social media thing, I took huge advantage of it during the last 18 months. I don't even want to say the pandemic anymore because it's just a word that's just been so used. So I just say the last 18 months to 2 years where, the YouTube channel, we saw, and you and I have joked about this on a number of occasions, but we saw more podcasts, more episodes, and more things than ever. We saw every Tom, Dick, and Harry and their nans were all creating social media content to keep engagement up and to keep.
And you were in every single one of those videos and podcasts.
Well, you got to get your name out there. But it's one of those things where we took advantage of that period of time.
Yeah.
What we did was, obviously with our YouTube channel, the good thing is we had it already up and running in the December 2019. So we're a bit ahead of the curve when everybody else started to jump on that bandwagon. And what was quite nice is, I jumped on as many as I could to get our name in front of anybody and everybody, because recruitment, although we were still recruiting, it was dead, for obvious reasons. So it was a case of switching it up and flipping things on its head and go at it from that pure presence perspective. If we're present, then we're not going to get forgotten about. Rather than,
well, wasn't it? I mean, it was fun to maybe fun it's the wrong word, but I think I joke because I was participating in a lot of things as well, and it was good because we were in a period of time where we weren't seeing people, we weren't having that face-to-face contact. A lot of people obviously not working or furloughed or just out of work for a period of time. So I think it was an incredibly important thing that people were still able to have that interaction over that period of time. So if it's almost a double positive, isn't it? You from your perspective, you can get your name out there and maintain that brand or create awareness, but also just keep in contact with key people, and that's tremendously valuable.
It was one of those things where you tap into what people actually want to see. The funny thing is as well, you see so many of them now are not around. So people that did create podcasts or did create sort of weekly episodes or bi-weekly episodes, if the content was strong and people were interacting with it, then they would still be here. And one thing that we maintained was just the quality of the content we were putting out. It wasn't just us, on our phones in our living room or, whatever. There was thought in it and there was planning and so on. And we just approached it like that. So I'd say from my perspective, if somebody's looking at social media as an opportunity, be, as you said, actually, mate, be as thoughtful about it as possible in terms of the content you're creating, but also the quality of that content. What is it actually talking about? What is it actually saying? Do something different. Because we've all heard, if it's from a revenue management perspective, as you say, mate, we've all talked about the development of revenue management, where it's been, where it's heading, and so on and so forth. It's been done to death. Find something new, drive something new, get interesting people involved. I'd say nobody is here looking at my channel because they're here to look at me. They're looking at the guests that we have on. And that's what it's always been driven by. So,
I think, another point on quality is the actual physical quality of what you're putting out as well, because I think that's another thing that really has changed over the last couple of years, that people take it more seriously now. They as I say, they don't just sit in front of a phone. It's as you have there yourself, it's you need it can't just be a webcam and a camera on a laptop and a microphone on a laptop, because it's not going to give you sufficient quality. So I think they're the ones that are staying strong and continuing to be produced, the ones that are actually taking it very seriously, and good quality content, but also incredibly well produced content as well, which makes it, I think, far more engaging in a way.
Yeah, just people are watching it, aren't they? Right, Scorpion Pepper. It's all downhill from here, mate, to be honest with you. So
where's this from? I don't know this. Where is this?
I have no idea. Where is that?
Okay. Free holiday paid for by Tom, if you can.
Do you know what though? Or have they all got it on there? Oh no, it all says extra spicy. So this one is horrendous. So I'm mopping this up for anybody that doesn't believe me. Look how shiny that thing is.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm doing you a bit of a disservice because I'm putting on less than you. Actually, I mean, I'm going to go for it with this one. There we go. I mean, that's bathed in sauce. Right, here we go. You've gone quiet, which makes me very nervous.
Yeah. Oh God. Oh, it's horrible. It's brilliant. Oh man. Sorry, guys. Oh, oh, God. For anybody that ends up doing this challenge, as soon as we get here, it's horrible, and it hits you here. I think I almost say this on every episode, but it hits you right behind. Oh God.
It's oh Jesus.
Woo. You've gone quiet.
It's not an unpleasant taste. It's not an unpleasant taste. It's not like just hotness. There's a pleasant taste to it, but then it just, I can't feel my tongue.
No. Oh, right. Oh God. Okay. Whew. No. How is technology currently being? Oh, sorry. How is technology currently impacting revenue management or being used?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough one. It's a tough one for anybody that does this in the future. Whoever Jamie ends up nominating at the end of this episode, remember that scorpion pepper is horrendous.
That is the one. I can't speak. My tongue is just dinging. Technology. Yeah, it's a good question. Maybe the question should be what is changing in terms of the technology landscape. I think that what we've seen and what has accelerated over the last couple of years is the number of vendors that are entering hospitality. We've had revenue management systems, property management systems, channel managers for quite some time, but now we're seeing new vendors enter the market, and perhaps more importantly, we're seeing hotel groups actually embracing and changing and using some of those different vendors. So we've kind of moved away from having maybe the big 2 or 3 in terms of PMS and RMS to having a far more diverse landscape in terms of what systems are being used, and that is very impactful. That's very powerful, because we're not potentially in a situation now where we just have to buy something off the shelf and it has to be almost shoehorned into your business. There's now far more choice in terms of what is going to be the best PMS for my hotel, what's going to be the best revenue management system for my type of business. And that, in terms of that end goal of commercial success, that's guest journey as well, and importantly, that's tremendously important. And I think that's where the technology side of things is differing a little bit. That some of those as I said, some of those new entrants are really being embraced. I think that's that can only be a good thing. It does create some challenges as well, though, because you have these, and I've seen some examples of this over the last few months with various clients. Hotels, hotel groups, independents, chains are perhaps more receptive to changing their technology infrastructure, but then they don't have the expertise on property to make sure that it is maintained and managed properly.
Sure.
And that obviously creates a problem, and it kind of ties in with one of the previous questions about revenue management and where it goes. And one of the things that RMs are really having to be now are system experts. I'm not saying they weren't before, but now instead of perhaps knowing one or two systems very well, they need to know a multitude of systems, and that obviously creates challenges. But I think from a positive perspective, having a choice of systems that are far more in tune with your actual business needs, that's an incredibly positive thing. I think for me, the really kind of standout area is revenue management systems. There's been some great entrants into that area over the last few years, and we've got a lot of mutual friends in that space, and there are some really great vendors, and they're really kind of, I think, in a lot of ways, tailoring their products for a certain type of audience, and that's absolutely perfect, because you can't. Maybe someone would disagree, but I don't think you can have a revenue management system that is the absolute perfect fit for every type of business.
No.
So I think that is tremendously impactful that we have such a choice of revenue management systems available now.
I think, again,
speaking is hard. This is quite hard to compose my thoughts with a stinging tongue.
Honestly, I felt sorry for you there, because I was here switching between towels and milk. No, what I was going to say to that was that we do have a few mutual friends in the space, and I made a point of getting quite a few of them on my show from RMSs, but also other technology providers that are providing excellent solutions in a space where over the last 2 years people have been reviewing what exactly they're doing and what tech they've got, and it's been an incredible journey for me to understand, because I'd never been exposed to the tech side of it. I'd never really paid any real attention. I'd never really spoken really to anybody apart from the bigger guys. It's been a bit of an eye-opener for me to see the capabilities and the innovation that's come from these, I'd say newer kids on the block, which has just been really cool. And to be able to put them on a platform and help where I could, it was great. But also to just learn and hear what they had to say, it was eye-opening, mate. Absolutely eye-opening. So no, good. Last one. Ghost Pepper. So, believe it or not, this one is bad, but I don't actually think it's as bad as the Scorpion Pepper. But again, we move, and this is it, mate. This is the last one. So again, nice and orange and shiny and lovely. Here we go. Right. No messing about.
I mean, that's a healthy dose.
Yeah.
I haven't sworn yet. I've been quite impressed.
You haven't sworn yet.
Oh, mate, no, this is
smells like lighter fluid. Oh,
that's
that
nasty.
was so close. For anybody that can see, anybody that can see that, I almost wiped my eye with whatever sauce that was. Okay. Oh, right. Okay, come on. We're nearly there. Okay. Best piece of advice you've received?
Nearly did it.
I'm telling you now, it's not to come on this.
Milk doesn't work.
It's not working for me either. And my eyes are streaming.
What was the question?
Don't make me say it again. Best piece of advice you've received. Oh, I'm swelling. I'm putting milk all over my mouth right now to help.
Best piece of advice: just speak to people, and it's so simple, but it's so important and it's so impactful. And speak to other consultants to get their advice and their help. Speak to your existing contacts for potential business leads. Just absolutely everyone and anyone who will be generous enough to spend to give you some of their time, take advantage of it. And I'm very lucky because I had some great people at the beginning that I know and respect very well, that really did take the time to give me their thoughts and their advice. And it all adds up. It all adds up to be tremendously important and impactful, and it kind of shapes your direction a little bit as well. And some of it perhaps is what you'd expect. Don't be disillusioned if you can't find work immediately, because it will happen if you keep putting the right steps in place. But hearing that from multiple people, obviously it gives you some reassurance that, okay, well, this is fine. So yeah, it was. It sounds so simple, but I said the same thing. Myself, I think, to a few people that have asked me what my advice would be, and it is just that. Just take advantage of all of those contacts you have, but don't stop either. I think it's going back to the technology question. You have to stay up to date with what's happening, otherwise you very quickly become irrelevant, I think, in what we do.
Yeah.
So that's another important thing. Speak to existing vendors, new vendors that come to market, speak to other consultants, just maintain contact. I think that was the single most important piece of advice that I received, and it is very true. It sounds so simple because obviously we work in hospitality, and it is about communication and maintaining relationships, but it almost sounds too simplistic in some ways. But it is a tremendously important thing, and it was very impactful for me, I think. And I really, the start of last year, I just spent a few weeks just arranging as many calls as I could. And it was good, to be honest. It was I think you have to have some degree of confidence to start your own business, but at the same time, there's always some insecurity. So having people who and trust giving you their kind of encouragement, that's immensely beneficial, or I found it immensely beneficial.
Yeah, I think from my sort of side, it's something very similar, but I was given a piece of advice only a couple of months ago, and it was that sort of collaboration piece. Collaborate with the people around you. Be open to bringing in other experts into various things that you've got going on, because you're never going to be the best at everything. And I've always been somebody that has struggled with giving other people things. But that collaboration piece for me has been huge. So I think for anybody that has started their own business and they are, you know, either on their own or they've got a couple of people around them within the business, make sure you're looking externally at potential collaboration opportunities, because it's definitely transformed the way that I do things, but it's also opened doors that I definitely wouldn't have had before. So that collaboration piece is a big one as well. But I guess that comes down to that communication as well. Right.
Yeah, I think that's that's a really great point, actually. And I've been lucky to meet some really great consultants that do similar to what I do, and and to kind of do some projects with alongside them. And yeah, that's been it's good, because obviously it means you can, you know, as you say, you have that collaboration. It also means you can potentially take on bigger projects, which is, it can be a little challenging if you're a, you know, single person running your business. So yeah, I think that's another great point. I'm still going for this. I'm kind of
I got nothing left on mine. Mine is a bone. No, the last question. There's no wing.
Do we have more questions? I think we were done.
No. There's one more question, but it doesn't involve a wing. Doesn't involve a source. Who are you nominating? Who are you nominating to be the next person to have to take on the Edwards and Finn Hot Wings Challenge? Because I know I asked you to have a bit of a think. So have you come up with somebody?
Hot one. Yeah, I will nominate Ryan Dance, my old running buddy from IHG days. He's always up for a challenge and a laugh, so I think he'd be a perfect person for doing this. I'm not sure how he is with spicy food, but he strikes me as being a person who'd probably be pretty capable and pretty adept at this. So yeah, Ryan, he's my nominee for the pleasure of doing this.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think it was that bad. I've got to be honest. Maybe I'm just not that susceptible or impacted by the last one. The last one was a bit of a killer, but I don't think that's too bad.
Well, I'm glad that you think that. I definitely. I mean, look at how much. Okay, so that. Wait for it. Where are we? That's how much I've got left. Not that much. So I've got to buy another box, to be fair. How many times have I done this? Ryan, I will be in touch. This has been an absolute pleasure, mate. I know that obviously we've been talking about doing this for some time. Congratulations on getting through all the sources. You clearly did a much better job than I did, because I've gone through about 4 paper towels. I've got a red face. My eyes are killing me. And yeah, my tongue is on fire. But well done, mate. You've got through it. Ryan, I will be in touch. Jamie, any final thoughts before we say goodbye to everybody?
My tongue hurts.
Right, on that bombshell, everybody, thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and don't forget to comment down below how Jamie's done. Do you think he's done really well? Do you think he was a bit of a wuss like me? Yeah, let us know. But thanks very much for tuning in, guys, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.